as I mentioned earlier in the introduction, the topic of branding was something that kept coming up, and as I was putting together the schedule for the 2014 Entrepreneur Roundtable series, this was something that I really wanted to tackle. And our keynote presenter, actually, he was also the keynote presenter for our Leadership Institute for Women, which had 3 different locations here in southeastern Michigan. We had western Michigan, but also in Indiana. We have an Indiana office as well that services our Women's Business Enterprise Council Great Lakes program. So as Nancy mentioned, Mark Lee has a wealth of information, and we're going to cover branding specifically. Mark S. Lee, I will not forget the S, is a Detroit native, and he's president and CEO of the Lee Group Michigan LLC, which is an independent integrated marketing consulting firm focused on providing marketing, branding, and communication solutions to clients. He's actually a former vice president of brand development and marketing communications at Florida's Blue Cross Blue Shield plan, where he was responsible for leading the company's brand initiatives, marketing communications, and the development and implementation of promotional programs focused on supporting strategic priorities. Prior, Mr. Lee held senior marketing leadership roles with nationally known companies across the country, including PepsiCo, the Auto Club Group. His column turned blog, you may have read it, I read it all the time, very often. Small Talk with Mark S. Lee appeared in the Michigan Chronicle for 3 years, and it now appears via blog for the Crane's Detroit business. It provides tips to businesses who are interested in growing their business and to individuals who aspire to become entrepreneurs. In addition to being a noted public speaker, Lee is an adjunct professor of marketing at Walsh College in Troy, Michigan. He's also an adjunct professor at Eastern Michigan University and a guest lecturer at Boston University and the University of North Florida. Throughout his career, Mr. Lee has received numerous awards, been the focus of many articles, and has been invited to speak on various marketing and branding topics across the country, such as our Entrepreneur Roundtable this afternoon. He holds a master's degree in marketing from the Kellogg Graduate School of Management at Northwestern University and a Bachelor of Business Administration from Eastern Michigan University. Without further ado, please help me to welcome Mark S. Lee.
All right, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Let me just start by saying to Robin, my goodness, I didn't realize I've done all that in my career. Jeez. Somebody else either wrote that or I must have been crazy when I wrote that bio. So I'm very happy to be here. First of all, let me just start by saying I want to congratulate CEED for its 30th anniversary. Can we give them a round of applause? A phenomenal event a couple weeks ago, and Robin indicated they've asked me to speak a couple of times on their behalf. And I had the opportunity of speaking this morning to a bunch of business leaders in the city of Pontiac, including Mayor Pontiac. And this morning I focused on the essence of networking. And this afternoon I'm going to shift gears and focus on the power of the brand. And when Robin was going through my bio, what I'd like to say to you is this. I've had the opportunity of rebranding some major organizations. I rebranded AAA, they heard of AAA. I was the CMO for the company. And the rebrand was so successful that I was actually invited overseas to Belgium to talk about what we did in Detroit and across the Midwestern part of the country. And I had a chance to go to Belgium and talk about it. I've also had the opportunity of rebranding GMAC Real Estate, which is now, Better Homes and Gardens, which is now GMAC Real Estate, GMAC Mortgage. That was my responsibility, amongst others. And most recently, I had the opportunity of rebranding Blue Cross Blue Shield of Florida, which is now known as Florida Blue. And as a result of that, I did over 300 interviews across the country. And I had the opportunity of traveling across the country to talk about the major rebrand of an iconic brand. It was a phenomenal experience for me. If you Google my name, you can, Mark S. Lee, Cranes Detroit, I've actually written articles on branding, rebranding, creating your personal brand. And I've done several actually in the city of Detroit. How do we rebrand the city of Detroit? It's actually been picked up nationally to the point I've been invited to New York City to do some interviews out there. I'm also a guest contributor on Channel 7, Spotlight on the News, with Chuck Stokes. And that will be one, I think, he just called me the other day, sometime in May or June. And we always talk about, Chuck asked me, basically your travels, how is Detroit perceived? And what can we begin to do differently? But I always tell Chuck, every time I travel, I make it very clear, although I've been to 7 or 8, 9 different cities, I make it very clear that I was born and raised in the city of Detroit. And I'm very proud of it. And although we have issues and we have challenges, I was driving from Pontiac, from Auburn Hills a few minutes ago, and I was thinking, while the city's going through a transition, guess what? The city has an opportunity to do what? Rebrand itself. So what we're going to do is take a few minutes. I'm not going to bore you with just PowerPoints. I'll reference them. But I'm a very engaging speaker. You can see I walk around, have a lot of energy. And so I like to engage people as I talk. Because I want to connect with you, and I want you to connect with me. And that's part of my brand, which I will talk about. Detroit's a great city, so we have the opportunity of rebranding, not only the city of Detroit, but southeastern Michigan. Pontiac is where he talked about it, and also the state of Michigan. So with all that as a backdrop, I want to talk briefly about the essence of branding. And I want to point out some very relevant examples over the last several days that we can all relate to when it comes to branding. So, I have a very, very simple question, and it's not rocket science. What binds the organization and connects the dots? What do you guys think? What do you think? People, that's always a good one. People. Outside of people, what else?
Vision and mission.
Okay. Mission and mission, which I recently wrote a column on it. Anybody else? What else? Service. Value, and of course, the brand. Right? The brand connects the dots. If we can. All right, Robin. Can I have you draw it for me? That's okay? I mean, maybe it's rebooting, and I can just talk.
Can we get this one hooked up?
Yeah, we're working.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry about that. So really what drives the organization is your brand. And let me tell you what branding is not, okay? A lot of times we think that brand is a product. It is a product, but it's not just your product. It's not just pricing. It's not just packaging. It's not just your advertising and communications. And it's also not just your promotion. But branding embodies everything that you want to represent. It embodies the spirit of your company. I know I'm talking to entrepreneurs, people aspiring to start a business, and you may say, well, Mark, branding, I can identify with branding at the corporate level. I work with major organizations. But it's just as important to brand your business, even as an entrepreneur, because it embodies you. People see you. They see you, and you represent the brand. So it captures the consumer. Whoever your consumer might be. It also is an emotional connectivity. Is that working? Let's see if it goes forward. Oh, that is great. Keep going. Let me see. Technology, you know. Thank you. All right, so it also is the emotional connectivity. It's your brand promise. A lot of times we overpromise and underdeliver, don't we? Yeah. Think about how many times you go to CVS pharmacy and your product's not on the shelf, but you see they don't advertise. I'm not taking a swipe at CVS at all. Any product, any brand, we have a tendency of overpromising and underdeliver. But we have to deliver based on that promise. The other thing about branding is that it fills a void. It satisfies a need. And finally, we talk about communications, integrated communications. This this is what your brand embodies. This is what your brand captures. It's not just a product. Okay, it's not just a price. When people see me, and I'll talk a little more about me a little bit later, but they want to talk to me. Although the name of my company is the Lee Group, and I have subcontracted work, and I always hire people in southeastern Michigan. I make it very clear, my business model is I subcontract work, but I subcontract work to people in southeastern Michigan, because I put my money where my mouth is. So when people see me, they see me as the brand. So when people take my picture, a lot of times after I speak and I go places, people want to take my picture, you never see a picture of me with the drink in my hand. You never see me with crazy pictures on Facebook. Because all this stuff represents my brand. It's an extension of you. Okay, we'll give you a little bit of example in a second. So the next slide. So we just, go ahead, keep on. Let's see what. Let's look at these brands.
Apple.
Keep on. All right, give me the brands.
Apple. Nike.
There should be one more. And what is the one common element of these brands that you see in front of you? Are there any names, any words? No. It's pretty amazing, isn't it? It's pretty amazing. Why do you think that is?
They engraved that symbol so we'll know who they are.
They engrave that simple thought in your head so you know who they are. When I say Nike, what comes to mind? Yeah, just do it. What else? Gym shoes. Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Anything else? When I say Apple, is Apple up here?
Yes.
Okay, when I say Apple, what comes to mind?
iPhone, iPad, iPod.
Okay. But not just products, right? Okay, right? When I say Shinola watch, what comes to mind? What else? Jordan. I have a Shinola watch. I have two of them. Always a conversation starter wherever I go. Even when I travel around the country, I've had somebody else from Detroit say, is that a Shinola? We're comparing Shinola watches. When I say, here we go, are you ready?
Yes.
Nothing controversial, not political. When I say the LA Clippers, what comes to mind? It's not a joke. What comes to mind? Okay, before last weekend, what came to mind? Okay, losers. Listen where I'm going with this. Listen very carefully what I'm saying. Okay? I just gave you a list of very well-known brands. Some of them have withstood the test of time. There have been some controversies associated with them. But they have bounced back. They bounced back. Now, when I said the LA Clippers, the number one perception was a losing organization. Look what happens when the person or people representing the brand, what happens? What happened? How many sponsors walked away? 12. Overnight. Last night I was watching a pregame show. They showed the signs being covered up. Okay? So we talk about the brand. They're toxic right now. Right? But the only personal statement is, I think the NBA did a fabulous job. I'd like to say thank you. That's all I'm going to say on that. Number two, I've become a big fan of Doc Rivers since the weekend. The way that he's managed his team, the way he's managed the brand, and the situation. And in fact, I made a couple of comments. I actually commented to the Free Press. I said, hey, when he was thinking about leaving the Clippers, we had a team in Detroit we could hire him for. But he said last night he's not leaving. My point in sharing the story with you is this. Your brand is everything. And as a result of that situation, they have lost millions of dollars. Now take that down to your level, my level, our level. When I see you, you have 30 seconds to impress me. Because the attention span of an adult is less than 30 seconds.